No longer is Steam the only place to buy your digital PC games, with publishers like EA, Activision Blizzard and Ubisoft all having their own all having their own online game stores for a while now, which is a bloody headache for gamers who just want all the games in one place. Is it too much to ask? Is it really? Well, reach for that paracetamol, because Epic Games have decided it's time for them to go toe-to-toe with Valve.
The Epic Games Store was announced on Tuesday the 4th of December in a blog post by Epic CEO Tom Sweeney. Epic will not only be selling first-party games through the store, but very soon they will open up the marketplace to third-party games too. In an overt move to directly compete with PC juggernaut Steam, Epic are offering many incentives for gamers and devs alike, most notable of which is a pretty sweet revenue split with developers. Steam have traditionally taken a chunky 30% of the revenue generated by game sales and all in-game purchases. Epic have announced that they only intend to take 12%. Just in case that wasn't quite crystal clear enough, they made this tidy little chart to help hammer the point home.
The hefty 30% cut taken by Steam has always been a bone of contention for many developers. This is money out of the developers' pockets which could be invested straight back into games development. Money which might make a huge difference for those smaller independent devs who may even be operating on a shoestring budget. Other incentives for devs to sell on the Epic Games Store will include waiving the 5% engine royalty fee for all games which use Epic's Unreal Engine, more options for devs to communicate with customers using email and a newsfeed, full control over the game store page. Incentives for customers and creators will include a no store-wide DRM policy, a manually curated storefront, and a support a creator affiliate program for creators and streamers. A 12% revenue split, that is absolutely huge. That's less than half of what Steam take. 18% more to the developers, 18% more going into their pockets to pay all their bills, wage bills, electricity bills, all that kind of stuff that indie developers have to worry about. We're not talking about being greedy here. We're not talking about the bigger corporations making a bigger slice of pie so they can pay their CEOs a bigger bonus at the end of the year. We're talking about grassroots game developers.
It's just a great bargain for them. Like if you want to do a job, do it at the best price and get the best out of it. Now, when it comes to DRM, the Epic Games service will be completely up to developers whether they want to implement it. Unlike Steam, where it's across the board on everything, or GOG, where it's completely free on everything. So it will be up to them to decide if they do want to implement it to have the extra level of security from piracy, or if they want to make a cleaner game that's not going to disagree with so many people's hardware. The incentives for people selling games on the Epic Games Store are pretty obvious. They get more money and get more control. But if Epic are to realistically challenge Steam, they will need to do more to entice the people who buy games over to their marketplace. The proposition of having to install yet another launcher to access your games is not exactly a good one. Some advantages which Steam currently has over Epic are the back catalogue of games, the already installed user base, and consumer trust, for the most part. However, Epic have been the underdogs once before, and this was not so long ago. There was a time when Fortnite was the newcomer to the Battle Royale arena, looking up to the then market-dominant PUBG, and we all know how that turned out. If Epic are to apply the same care and attention to their new digital gaming store as they do to their ongoing development of Fortnite, then who knows? Where's PUBG right now? Is it relevant anymore?
What even is a PUBG anymore?
What's a PUBG?
I don't even know. A PUBG. Nobody's talking about PUBG. Have you noticed that? Like, there's all the headlines that used to be last year. PUBG's doing this. PUBG's doing that. Nobody cares about PUBG anymore. It's sad. It's so sad.
A shame.
It's doing really well though. Still, comparatively in the industry, it's got loads of people playing, but nobody cares because Fortnite is just a romp in it.
Proper, just like.
Thanks for that.
My mom's going to watch this, it'll be a laugh.
She's going to be so proud of you.
She subscribes, that's all it matters. She likes them all as well. And
Oh, does she?
I told her that to like
does she
like them. I don't think she comments.
Who's that Henry twat?
Yeah,
Beta male.
That's her, man. That's her.
Steam itself is no longer the unrivaled dominant force it once was. Increasingly, bigger publishers are opting to move their products away from the Steam store in a bid to avoid Steam's hefty fees. This year was the first time ever that the new Call of Duty will not be on sale on the Steam store. Activision Blizzard instead opting to sell the PC version of the game exclusively on their own store, Battle.net. A decision which has worked out well for them, with Black Black Ops 4 reportedly selling over double that of 2017's Call of Duty World War II at launch, breaking franchise records for digital PC sales in the process. Losing their 30% share of the revenue from sales of the biggest annual gaming franchise in the industry must have hit Steam pretty hard. On Saturday, December the 1st, Steam announced that for the first time ever, they are revising their revenue share structure. Beginning in October, they're now offering a 25-75 split for all revenue generated above $10 million and a 20-80 split for revenue generated above $50 million. So if you're an indie dev, you're shit out of luck.
The intent of this new deal is obvious. Keep the biggest AAA games on the store. But whether they'd anticipated this announcement by Epic Games or not, this is a move which is probably way too little, way too late. The big publishers have pretty much already deserted the platform, with Bethesda and CD Projekt just the latest to launch games away from Steam this year. Indie devs and smaller publishers are unhappy with Valve since they weren't offered the better revenue split that the bigger ones were, with many taking to Twitter recently to voice their displeasure. Consumers have long complained about the lack of curation on the marketplace, with a large majority of the around 30 games published per day being just utter garbage.
Maybe this is just the kick up the arse that Steam has so desperately needed. For so long, they've remained unchallenged, complacent. They've not needed to fight for anything, impress anyone, or offer anything above and beyond what they themselves dictate. A realistic challenge to Steam by the new Epic Games Store can only be good for the consumers and devs who in the past have had no other choice but to bend over to Valve. Steam will have no option but to wake from their slumber of complacency and offer a more competitive service for all, or risk being left in Epic's dust just like PUBG was. We've said it for a long time on this channel that Steam are just riding on their past successes and they're not doing enough to keep the consumers happy, keep the devs happy. They're not being challenged. They don't have to. They can just sit there, raking in the cash because they remain unchallenged in the marketplace, and they just don't have to care about anything because of all the money they're making and because nobody's risking that. Hopefully now Epic can step up and be a genuine contender to Steam, not only because devs are offered a better revenue split with the Epic Games Store, but Steam will get their asses in gear and they might sort their shit out and make things better for everybody in the long run. So the Epic Games Store might be the best thing that's happened to Steam and the Steam customers in a long time. But we'll have to wait and see. It all depends on whether the Epic Games Store can get enough traction, get enough people playing it to become a real big competition for the likes of Steam, because they are still absolutely huge and dominant.
Competition is everything because it's good for the consumer, as I said, because it gives us more options to choose from, even on deals and prices and the games available. But also it will force Valve to pull the finger out to start putting more work into making the service better rather than just maintaining it at the fairly basic level that it currently is operating at.
I think one way to get the consumers over to the Epic Games Store is by offering better prices, because for a lot of people that is the biggest factor when it comes to buying games. If they can get their games cheaper on the Epic Store, then that will be the kind of pivoting point for them, I think. With the fact that they're offering an 18% cut or in rates over Steam to the developers, you think if a developer can offer their game at 10% discount on the Epic Games Store versus Steam and still make more money, then obviously that would be the way to go. That might be one way to get loads of people over to the Epic Store really quickly. If all these indie developers get together and make their games 10% cheaper, that's just a suggestion. Maybe that would work.
Hopefully it's just not going to turn into a Fortnite machine where it's all Fortnite everything. Here's where you get your Fortnite microtransactions. Here's where you get your Fortnite skins. We don't want that. Hopefully, I think they will do it right. They'll make it a proper marketplace, a whole store with lots of good deals, good prices, and it's better for us and the developers so we can get more good games more frequently. Well, so all we want is good games. I don't want a game to come out and
Good service. Yeah. Not just good games, but good service too.
Not games as a service, but I want the games to be served to me as a good, because it's a fucking good, not a service. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Have you fallen out of favour with Steam recently? Do you think a new game store sounds epic? Let us know what you think down below. Make sure you hit that like button, it helps us out a ton. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything we've got coming up. Head on over to Patreon to check out our podcast. Maybe drop us a buck if you're thinking you like what you're seeing. Start that one again. I started it and I was like, no. Because
it's like, you get so far in a sentence, you're like, this isn't making any sense anymore.
It was good. My brain was like, say it serious, but my mouth was like,
what you see.
Be funny. And neither works.